All right, welcome back. So let's finalize this now that I've added all the windows to my house. First thing I want to do is turn this body of a house into what's called a group. There's a couple ways you can select. If you notice, when I have this selector tool, I click and drag to the right, it's a solid line. If I click and drag to the left, it's a dotted line. So let's see what that does. If I click and drag to the right over part of it, you can see it only captures what was fully included in that. Whereas if I click and drag to the left, it highlights everything that was touched by my click and drag. So that's just something that you can play with. It can be helpful from time to time if you're trying to not select everything. But for example, let's say I wanted everything, but I didn't necessarily want this window. I could hit the Shift key on my keyboard and click, those are individual lines in that case that it's deselecting. But I don't necessarily want to do that. I want everything, so I'm going to select everything. I'm going to right click on it, and I want to make this a group. And now that's all one big group, which can be helpful for different reasons later. Okay, so let's get on to this roof. I'm going to start by using the rectangle tool, and I want to draw a rectangle from the outside corner to another outside corner right there. And then I want to draw a line at the midpoint. Again, it'll snap to that midpoint, which is helpful. I want to go over to the other side, all the way over. There we go. My next step is to click this line and drag it up. And the way we're going to do that is I'll first select that line, then I'll hit M on my keyboard, which is the move tool. But actually, before I do that, I'm going to reorient this just a little bit so you can get a better visual of what that looks like. So I'll hit, I've got it selected, I'll hit M on my keyboard, I'll click this roof, and I'll drag it. And notice when I drag it up, it actually says on the blue axis. If it doesn't, I can hit the up key on the keyboard, and that kind of locks it in, which means I'm going parallel to this line, which is really helpful. I don't want my roof getting asymmetrical or looking wonky. So I'll just pick a pitch that looks good to me. I'll click it, and that looks totally fine. Next, we'll kind of fill this in, and this is just a simple way to fill it in, but I can hit the line tool and draw a line at the base of each of these triangles. So from here to here, and it automatically fills that in. So I'll do the same thing over here, my line tool, from there to there, and it's nice and filled in. That looks pretty good. Okay. Next, we want to make this roof a group. So I'll do that in the same fashion that I did the body of the house. Again, if I select this way, it has to be selecting it entirely. So I want to select everything, including the rectangle and the line that we drew initially. I'll right click, and I have that as a group. There we go. So I've got my house pretty well set. Next, we can add some kind of, in a similar fashion to the windows, we can add some texture and whatnot to the outside of this house and the roof. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I go to materials, let's look at our options. Maybe we'll do some tan siding. There's a few choices. I'll do tan siding here, and I'll fill in that house. And now we can see the outside of that house has that nice cladding. And let's do some roofing material on the roof. So if I go here, I can pick some shingles, and I have some beautiful roof. Now, if we go to I can take this, since this is a group, I can hide this. So if I go here, edit, hide, I've now just hidden that from view so I can see inside. And what you'll notice is it did siding inside, which I don't necessarily want. So let's change that. I can double click the house, and you'll see it's boxed in by this dotted line. Now I'm in the edit mode of this. So let's give this some color. Sure, let's make pink walls, why not? And some yellow and whatever else. We'll just do a few other colors. And Alright, I think I got all my interior walls colored, and let's do a floor as well. So we'll do some carpet on the floor. Alright, so now I've got that pretty well modeled. That looks good. Colors, flooring, everything looks good. I can click now out here, and I've deselected. I'm no longer editing that. If I want to view my roof back on it, I can say unhide. And I've only hidden one thing, but it's the last thing that I did, so I can just do that. And there's my house, pretty well set. The last thing we can do on this is if we wanted to add some furniture. So let's go ahead and hide that again. Let's select it and hide it, and let's add some furniture in there. So I can close this materials and I can go to components and I can add things from the internet. So for example, let's type in dining room table, see what pops up. And it looks like I have a few options here, lots of different options, like this one right here. So let's click that. It says it's downloading it up, and there it is. Quite lovely. It's quite large too. So let's click it out here. And now we're going to resize that, or scale it specifically. So here I can hit scale, and that allows me to change the size of that. That looks a little bit more appropriate. And now we can click that table, and we need to move it. So let's select it, hit M. And now I can move it. That wasn't helpful. Let's click it and drag it in there. And that looks pretty good. Let's see. Oh, it looks like it's gone through. So I need to fix that. So I'm going to hit move, and I'm going to bring it back up. And it should snap to the floor. That's no longer going through. That looks fine. Let's move it over a little bit more centered. All right, that looks pretty good. So now I've got my table, and you guys can play around with the different things that you can add in there, but that's basically it.